Now, Master Dogen said to study Zen is to study the self. Well, this should come as no surprise that the focus of our practice is about how to know oneself, how to know thyself. So our life is a continuous unfolding of streams of conscious experiences. Whether we're awake or dreaming, the stream consists of sensations, thoughts, emotions, and the choices we make in response to them. That's our personal reality. Meditation gives us the tools to examine and work with our experience and to live a more fulfilling life. In order to create your personal reality in a purposeful way, rather than haphazardly, we must understand our own mind, our own heart, and our own self. But the kind of understanding is not just intellectual, which is ineffective by itself. We have to tap into the wisdom of our body. Because Zen practice is a somatic practice. It's a practice of the body. It's not the practice of the intellect. No, I've had people say to me that they're very compatible with Zen philosophy. And I said, well, we don't study Zen philosophy here. We study the self. Now, we might throw in a little bit of Zen philosophy here and there, but I don't want you to become attached to it because that's not going to help you. But we need a context to put our practice in. We often believe that we should be in control, the masters of our own minds and emotions. But that belief only creates problems for your practice. It will cause you to willfully try to wrestle your mind into submission. And when that inevitably fails, you tend to get discouraged and blame yourself, blame the practice, blame the teachers. So this can turn into a habit until you realize there is no self in charge of the mind, and therefore nobody to blame. As you continue to meditate, the fact of no self becomes increasingly clear. As one teacher said, you can't afford to wait for the insight into this no self. For the sake of making progress in your meditation, it's best to drop this notion, at least at the intellectual level, as soon as possible. There is no self. It's something we fabricate in order to try to make ourselves permanent in some way, to be fixed. And that's not our nature. That's not what we are. So at least until you experience it, please just, in the meantime, believe it. Maybe that's one of the values of study. We could go through a rigorous intellectual exercise like Nagarjuna did to show you there's no self. But we have to grasp it at the somatic level, at the body level, for it to become a guiding light in how we live our life. So what you're doing in meditation is forming and holding specific conscious intentions. Nothing more. Repeatedly sustained intention leads to repeated mental actions, which become mental habits. And if your intentions, are to clarify this no self, these habits of mind will lead to equanimity and insight. I was recently reading a book, I'm still reading, it's called The Mind Illuminated. It was written by a man who's a meditation teacher and also a brain scientist. And he said our conscious experience takes two forms, and it makes sense to me. One is attention on a specific object. Like when we're meditating, we put our attention on our breath. And the other is peripheral awareness. So we're aware of everything that's going on around us. I mean, if you're sitting there concentrating on your breath and a train goes by and blows its whistle, you hear it. So when we focus our attention on something like our breath, it dominates our conscious experience. At the same time, we can be generally aware of things in the background. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're carrying a very hot cup of tea from your kitchen to your home office where you work. And your home is full of children and pets. Your attention is on not spilling the hot cup of tea. That's a focus of your attention, like your breath. But if you ignore everything else, all of the activities in your awareness, it can be problematic. Two of the kids are fighting and they're rolling underneath your feet. The dog is hungry and is jumping up on you to get attention. And then your partner is yelling at you from the other room, "Where's my favorite shirt? Where did you put it?" And all the while that this activity is going on, you're carrying this cup of hot tea. So you have to be aware of everything in order to deliver the hot tea to your desk intact as you focus your attention on not spilling the cup. So you work with both attention, focus attention, and peripheral awareness to cultivate stable attention and mindfulness, which are objectives of meditation. And in our meditation, we use the breath as the object of attention. So stable attention is the ability to direct and sustain the focus of attention and control the scope of attention. Yet, as we all know, it's not easy to sustain attention. All kinds of distractions of the mind subvert our intention. The correct use of intention can transform bad habits, undo incorrect views, cultivate healthier perspectives on life. In short, skillfully applying conscious intention can completely restructure the mind and transform who we are. The Buddha said intention is karma. Our karma is created by our intention. So just take a moment and examine your intention. What is your intention for this week-long Rohatsu Sesshin? Do you have a clear intention of what you want to accomplish, how you want to focus your mind, how you want to put your body on the line? What is it? Intention is karma. So what karma do you want to create this week for your life and the lives of others? So to clarify a little bit more, attention analyzes our experience at the moment, but peripheral awareness provides the context. When one or the other does not do its job, we misinterpret, overreact, and make poor decisions. Peripheral awareness helps us stay alert to our surroundings and to use attention as effectively as possible. When peripheral awareness does not do its job, attention moves blindly without guidance and can be taken off guard. For example, when you're putting your attention on your breath, you suddenly notice you're fantasizing about lying on a beach in the South Pacific. What happened? Your attention was on the breath. That was clear. But then a thought started to form in your peripheral awareness. And you were not aware of it. Then the thought overtook your attention. When you refine your peripheral awareness, you'll be able to notice that thought was trying to crowd out your attention to your breath. When I lived at the Zen Center in Los Angeles, we regularly practiced about 4 hours of meditation a day. When I was on the staff there, I didn't have an outside job. I was just working for the Zen Center. And when I was practicing that amount of time, I could feel a random thought before it was formed. It was like the earth that bulges prior to a sprout pushing through to the sun. And then my awareness, my peripheral awareness, did not allow that thought to distract my attention. Because I could let the unformed thought go. But we often have curiosity of these unformed thoughts. Man, is it going to be a good one? Is it going to take me somewhere beautiful, intriguing? So there's many ways that we can lose mindfulness. But they all come down to not having enough conscious power for an optimal interaction between attention and peripheral awareness. So it also boils down to our intentions. To sit down and meditate for a set period of time, which during session it's many hours a day, and to practice diligently for the duration of that time. And then the appropriate results will naturally follow. But in spite of our best intentions, distractions always come. So when you find your attention diverted by a distraction, here's a helpful mantra to recall. Let it come, let it be, let it go. As soon as you can, return your attention to your breath. Just let it come, let it be, let it go. Don't even try to push it away. Just don't pay it attention. So we have all kinds of obstacles in our mind prevent us from creating a steady practice, and then even if we are sitting on the cushion, to not engage in that practice. One of them is time. I hear from quite a few students, they say there's just not enough time to practice. I'm too busy. That's true if your meditation practice is not a priority. When you make it a priority, there's always time. Yeah. You leave a party early rather than staying up past midnight, hooting and hollering. You don't consume so much alcohol. You learn to go to bed early so you can wake up early. And you even have to forego activities and even acquaintances that don't support your practice. As I got more and more serious about my practice, I wanted to hang out with people who supported it, people who also practiced. And we have to learn how to say, no, I can't do that. So when people tell me they don't have an extra half hour to meditate daily, I have a stock reply. Then you better meditate 1 hour per day. It is just a matter of setting up our life if we think it's important. Then there's procrastination. You always feel that there's some matter which is more urgent than meditation. But the amazing thing is when you do meditate, you find that you have more time, not less, because your mind is more focused. So when I was working as an oceanographer, I went on a few scientific cruises, and there were no Zendos on board the research vessel. So when there was a break in our schedule, I would go to my bunk and try to meditate in my bunk. There was barely enough room for my head. And while I was meditating, the ship was constantly rolling and pitching and yawing. So moves in all directions. Yet I found time to do it sitting on a bunk. But people would wonder what was going on with me, but that's okay. And in 1978, I ruptured my Achilles tendon, and I had to wear a cast from my toe to my hip for 6 weeks. They'd stitched it back together while it was healing. In 1978, I just moved into the Zen Center of Los Angeles, joined the staff there. And I was determined not to miss a single sitting. And you know what? In spite of the cast, I didn't. But you know what I had to do? And at the Zen Center of LA, I sat facing the walls. And there wasn't enough room for me to sit and put my leg out. So I had to turn around with permission of the Roshi, and I put my cast out in the Kinhin walking lane. And of course, during Kinhin, I couldn't stand up. So I was a real obstacle for everybody who was doing Kinhin. They had to be careful not to trip on me, but I figured I was adding to everybody's peripheral awareness. So just a matter of what your priorities are, what your intention is. Another obstacle is reluctance and resistance. Whereas procrastination keeps us from sitting down, reluctance and resistance leads us to spending our time on the cushion daydreaming, fantasizing, or making plans, rather than actually meditating. So the keys to overcoming reluctance and resistance are inspiration and motivation. So what inspired you to start meditating? I remember that I got a hard copy of the book, The Three Pillars of Zen, when it was first published, I think in 1964. And it inspired me. It was the first book on Zen practice. I'd read books on Zen philosophy, but that wasn't anything to anchor me to a cushion. And then I read these enlightenment experiences, and I think I've shared many times. I read Yamada Roshi's enlightenment experience. I said, I want that one. the one page on 121 or whatever it was, I'm going to have that experience. And I spent about 6 years trying to have somebody else's experience, which is something else. But it was inspired me to practice and motivated me. And then, as I mentioned, I had good friends, Dharma friends. In particular, Joko Beck was a good friend of mine at the beginning. And she would inspire me and motivate me. We inspired each other. So something externally can give you inspiration to start meditating and continue at the beginning. But as you continue to meditate, you find your inspiration internally. But Buddha said to Ananda, noble friends and companions are the whole of the holy life. Noble friends and companions on the way. Now, if we don't find any joy in our practice, if we just find it torture, it's not going to last very long. I mean, you can find something else to do. When I first started to meditate, my mind was very active. I had gone through, I was actually in the middle of a PhD program in physics when I started meditating, and my mind was just going constantly. Couldn't quiet it down. And if I would sit, first session I went to, I sat, and then maybe there was a moment in the whole time where my mind was quiet. It was enough for me to go back and do it again, even though it was like calm for 10 seconds, and for a day and a half it was torture. That 10 seconds was enough for me to come back. Because I draw the analogy like I learned how to play golf in order to do something with my father, who enjoyed playing golf. I was a terrible golfer. I wasn't really motivated to be very good. I was just doing it to be with my father. But if I got one par out of 18 holes, that was enough for me to want to come back and do it again. It was like my practice. And I found the next time I did a session, my mind was quiet, not 10 seconds, but maybe 30 seconds. And I did it again. Maybe you want to come back. So another obstacle is self-doubt. We all think that we're different. Perhaps we think I don't have the capacity or the personality to do this. Others can do it, but I can't. The antidote to self-doubt is trust and perseverance. Self-doubt arises because of our self-critical mind judgments, our judging mind. We're just judging ourselves all the time. We have certain expectations. And the only thing that's wrong is judgments and expectations. It's not that meditation takes too much effort. See, again, if we look at it carefully, we're putting so much emphasis on this self, and that creates a lot of the problems. When Hakuin had his first enlightenment experience, he told himself, nobody has had as great enlightenment experience as I have, And he went to test it against his teacher, a hermit, his name I forget, and he called him a bedwetting imp. But then on the other side, the ego gets attached. We say, nobody has suffered as much as I am, or nobody's as terrible as I am. That's ego attachment too. I'm not good enough to really let go. That's ego attachment, self-attachment. So what is the antidote to all of this? It's just to keep coming back to our practice over and over again. But then try to maintain your focus and the context in which you're practicing. And they'll interact. You'll be able to see these distracting thoughts coming up, these distracting feelings. We have all kinds of hindrances, worldly desires, aversion, laziness, agitation due to worry and remorse, and of course I mentioned doubt. So meditation does not repress worldly desire. It just frees you from being ruled by desire. My teacher, Maizumi Roshi, used to say he's very greedy because he wanted all of us to realize our true selves. So if we don't have a desire to do that, what's going to motivate us? It's kind of funny, Some teachers talk about effortless effort, that if you make an effort to do something, that you're off track. I met Soen Nakagawa Roshi once. Some of you know who he is. And he was a teacher of my first teacher, Socho Suzuki Roshi. He was an abbot of Ryotakaji. Ryotakaji is actually the monastery that Hakuin Zenji founded. And I was just a beginning student when I met Soen Nakagawa, and he spoke English, and I said to him that I'm really trying to do my best. And he looked at me and he said, try. I thought, yeah, try. Trying to do my best. Said Bodhidharma said you need to make an utmost effort. But the thing is, if we get attached anywhere, it's a problem. So that's what our intention is. Our intention is kind of not only the fuel, but it's the steering wheel that sets us in the direction that we want to go with our practice. Yeah. And if we maintain the mind of causing no harm, then aversion dissipates. It dissipates with loving kindness and compassion and the determination to do no harm. And if our directed attention and intention are strong enough and powerful enough, they'll overcome laziness and lethargy. And joy overcomes worry by giving you confidence you can handle life's challenges. And joy overcomes remorse by making you eager to set things right. So doubt is healthy and valuable when it motivates you to question, investigate, and try to find things, discover things for yourself. Keeps you from blindly accepting what others say and not being misled and taken advantage of. It's skepticism that can paralyze us if we respond to the emotional uncertainty it creates. It challenges our motivation. You know, in the 3 Pillars of Zen, I read there's 3 essentials for our practice: determination, faith, and doubt. We talked about determination, that's your intention and your effort. And faith, the same Yamada Roshi who I was trying to emulate said, all you need is 3% faith in this practice. Now, maybe that means something to you, but it didn't mean a thing to me. 3% of what? All he's saying is you just need a little bit of faith. Faith that the Buddha and the Zen masters are not scamming you or not tricking you. But then you have to find out for yourself, and that's where the doubt comes in. I prefer the word questioning or quest. It's like a quest, you know? It's not like, doubt as opposed to faith or confidence, but it's more like you're on a quest, like you left your keys somewhere and they exist and you're looking for them. You're on this quest for your keys. When you know your true nature is somewhere, and I'm going to find it. See, it's a motivator, but I'm going to find it for myself. I mean, what you say may be true, but it's not true for me until I experience it personally. And that's what I want you to do. That's what we all want you to do. So by applying yourself diligently, this negative doubt is completely overcome. But still, our practice never ends. We just want to continue to clarify it, to deepen it, and to practice it, not just in the Zendo, but in our life. Take it forward. So I'm very pleased that all of you are here today, taking this plunge together. As you know, Sesshin means to unify the heart-mind, so that all heart-minds are one heart-mind. So, I was thinking about Joko, my good Dharma buddy. She used to hate Sesshin. She used to hate going to Sesshin. I mean, when she started practicing, she was in her late 50s, I think, when she went to her first Sesshin. And she lived till her mid-90s. And she said, there's only one thing worse than going to session. You know what that is? Not going to session. So please take full advantage, and maintain your attentiveness to your breath, to your practice, as well as your awareness of the whole context of the environment that you're in, so you don't get lost and then overwhelmed by all the distractions that come in. So continue to do your best. And thank you.